Welcome back, troglodytes, to your daily dose of guitar information, the Trogly's Guitar Show. We've got some viewer-asked questions to answer today. Starting off today, a question from Sage. He's looking at a 2019 SG Special, but he has some concerns over the value of it due to some strange finish checking on it. Let's see if we can help him. Okay, so from first impressions here, this looks like just a regular Gibson SG Special from the original collection. He says it's a 2019 model, so it does matter if it's early 2019 or late 2019, because that's going to tell you what type of electronics you have in here. Do you have the hand-wired pots, or do you have the PCB system? It's all a personal preference, but generally the newer ones sell for just a tad more. And the way you can tell is the serial number format. This one has the old style, so this will most likely have a PCB system. So Sage will definitely have to weigh their options there. But the old 2019s start the serial number 19, and the newer 2019s, they restored the old Gibson format, so it'd be 1XXX9 for 2019. The newer serial numbers are read year, day, year, and then batch number, and then 3 production numbers here. So this one, if you tried to read it in the old format, you would get the 900th day of 2013. Yeah, there's no such thing as a 900th day in the year. For this style, it's all a production number, and then this is the year. Gibson first used this serial number format in 1994, and then they revived it from 2014 until about mid-2019 or so. So to help you properly identify guitars, just remember, does the serial number make sense using the year, day, year format? But the main concern this time is these weird finish checking lines. Now, finish checking can mean a lot of things. Since this is a Pelham Blue finish, it's got a little bit of a metallic nature to it, so it's not super uncommon to see finish checking. This one, I'm not really sure the cause of it, but I can tell just by looking at it, it's nothing nefarious. It happens sometimes. I've seen this often enough. When you really need to worry about finish checking is when it's coming off like the edge of the nut, or you get it in the typical headstock break area. Now, just because you have finish checking by the nut, that doesn't mean a lot. It really just depends on how it looks, how big it is. There's a lot of different factors you need to take into account for. So for this one, Sage, I would say you're okay as long as you get it priced appropriately. And in this case, a brand new one is $14.99, but that's the hand-wired pots, remember that. And the used market's a little bit crazy right now because new stock just isn't readily available. So these things have been holding value. So here's one that sold for about $12. Another one around $12. You can find these guys in the demo shop sometimes as cheap as $11. And I would knock between $100 to $200 off for these kind of weird looking finish checks on the back. And the fact that it's one of the older ones. So the range for this guitar, I would realistically put between $1,000 and $1,200. As far as the headstock on this one, it's possible it was like left up by a heater or an air conditioner for an extended period of time, and that caused the finish to change temperatures drastically. I mean, it could have been dropped, but it doesn't look like it to me. But he's also saying that the electronics were upgraded to Jackson electronics with Emerson Bumblebee caps. Okay, those things are very reputable, as long as they didn't swap out the pickups, which it doesn't look like. I think you're fine. They just got rid of the PCB system, so that's fine. So basically, this is an old 2019 converted to new 2019 specs. Next up, we have a question from Mike here. He's asking if I've ever done an episode or a wiring on this yet. I've talked about it, but I forget which episode I talked about it in. I think it was a guitar hunting one. That's the problem with those episodes, is you can never find them like if you're looking for something particular, but if you watch every day, you can learn some cool stuff. This is a Les Paul acoustic. There's a few different iterations of them. I like the ones that have no knobs on the front. They actually have the control panel on the side right here, which looks a bit goofy, but it gives you a nice clean look right here. Eventually, I'd like to do a full review and demo on this one, so I won't feature it in a separate rock or not, simply because, you know, this thing is worthy of its own review and demo. I'm just looking for the right one at the right price. Our next question comes from Mr. CJR. He's in a little bit of a predicament here in trying to choose a brand new guitar that he's been offered a generous discount on. So he's telling me, assuming these are the same price, would I personally choose the new Les Paul Modern or a Les Paul Standard 60s. Now, despite what he's telling me here, there is a $300 price difference. These things are $24.99 brand new, and this one is $27.99 brand new. And not only is he asking for recommendations between these two models, he needs help choosing what color. Okay, so I think this is a good time to teach you something. Remember how we were talking about exclusive finishes a couple of episodes ago? Guitar Center does have an exclusive finish for the 60 standard, and it's called Tri-Burst. Personally, I hate the Tri-Burst finish. I think it looks terrible, but you know, there's some guys that like it. So definitely choose whatever finish suits you. But I do want to let you guys know, if you're buying these things blindly off the internet, I've seen a few of these get posted on Facebook groups, and they're not quite as tri-bursty as they look in these photos. Like, it's blended pretty well, so it's kind of like just a dark sunburst. I think I would have enjoyed these a lot more had they had not done the rim burst, but hey, at least there's an option for the people that do like the more modern rim burst finish. And being a limited edition finish, hey, I guess that kind of helps you in future resale value depending on how long they do them. And then with the modern, he saw the blue one, he didn't really like it, but he likes the red and the black. Okay, so what does the Les Paul Modern have going for it? It is a modernized Les Paul, but yet it has some really nice specs. So a difference between these is this will have an ebony fretboard with true mother of pearl inlays, whereas a 60 standard would have a rosewood fretboard with acrylic inlay. Now, whether or not that matters to you, that's just something that's personal preference. This is not historically accurate at all, but I like it. Whereas this is accurate and okay as long as you condition the fretboards, they feel great. As far as the headstocks, they're about the same. They've got slightly different tuners and different truss rod covers, but that doesn't matter. The biggest difference between these guys all comes down to the body. So these will have fancy flame tops that look pretty nice, whereas the moderns, at this time, they do not have a transparent finish, so you can't see that. You could get one of the old HP series guitars. But this will have modern weight relief, whereas these guys are solid body, so they're going to be very heavy. You're definitely going to want to, feel a couple of them out at the store to find the one that's right for you. Because I've seen these as light as 8.5 pounds solid body, and I've seen them as high as 12. That's a big difference. So something to consider if you've got a bad back or you just don't want a super heavy guitar. And the electronics are completely different. So this is hand-wired pots, whereas our modern here has a push-pull PCB system. So this will give you split coils, I believe out of phase, and then direct to bridge, which is nice if you think you're going to use them. But if you've got a whole bunch of guitars, honestly, these are not as convincing as having a Stratocaster, but they're nice to have. From a demoer standpoint, it's kind of a pain to demo every single tone that these guitars can do, but I did make a video on these when they first came out. But here is another huge difference within the body. You get this little access heel carve. It's not a true access, it's just a comfort cut down here. In my opinion, this is not good enough. It made little difference to me playing it. It's not like the true custom shop access heel carve. So if this is your biggest concern between these two, I wouldn't really even consider it unless you're going for the custom shop access, because then it's a whole different ball game. Despite these things being more expensive brand new, they actually have worse resale value than the standard 60s and 50s. I mean, here's one you can get used for as cheap as 19. Now, if I remember correctly, it's got something wrong with it. Yeah, this one's got a headstock repair. I don't suggest buying that one. But when I was selling my Les Paul Modern after my review, that thing sat forever. I think I got about $2,200 out of it. So like, here's one from a reputable dealer for $2,300. Here's one that sold for $2,200. $2,150. So generally speaking, these things are worth anywhere between $2,000 to $2,300 after you take them out of the store. Whereas the Les Paul Standard 50s and 60s, these things, they lose about $250. You can sell them for $2,250. So if you're scared that you're not going to keep the guitar a long time, that's something else you could also consider. Just make sure you get a nice flame top. Otherwise, you might have a little bit harder time selling it and have to discount it a little bit more. So my personal recommendation between these two is buy the standard 50s and 60s, get that, that's all good. And then with all the money you save, go buy yourself one of these Epiphone Les Paul Moderns. These I can get behind because this is a great guitar. It's just a little bit too expensive for me. These things as an Epiphone, once you find one with the frets that are good, they are a fantastic value at $649. I cannot recommend the Epiphone Les Paul Moderns enough because you still get that little heel carve right here. And at this price point, it's like, yeah, that's pretty nice. And you still get all the fancy electronics on these, but I believe you lose the direct to bridge. And you can always upgrade the electronics later, but these are solid guitars. There's a reason why they're hardly ever in stock. And you also have a few other color options, like Sweetwater has the exclusive radio blue that we unboxed one time. And you can also pay a little bit more to get one in the fade finish that has the flame top veneer. In a Cafe Burst, you get the Caribbean Blue Fade, there's the Magma Orange, and then the Sweetwater exclusive Blueberry Fade. Not my favorite looking one in the world, but that would be my recommendation if you want a Les Paul Modern. Get the Epiphone version. The Modern also has the compound radius and the asymmetrical neck profile. So I guess if you're like a modern shredder style guy, maybe you like those guitars more than I do. So if possible, Christopher, just try them out side by side and do whatever your gut says. But generally speaking, I would tell you to go with the standard 60s. Especially since you're telling me that you don't think you're going to get much use from the coil splitting and whatnot. Alright, Troglodytes, thank you for tuning in today. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we will catch you tomorrow on the next one. Take care.